Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulullah. Inshallah, we're going to jump around a little bit and talk about a few different prophets and messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we're going to have a little travel through time and look at some of the things that happened in their lives and what happened to them in the briefest way and what they did and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intervened to help them. So we're looking at Surat Anbiya, the surah of the prophets, or the chapter of the prophets, verse number 83. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وأيوب إذ نادى ربه أني مسني الضر وأنت أرحم الراحمين. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts this ayah by talking about Prophet Ayub, or in English or in the Bible, Job. إذ نادى ربه. Ayub, or Job, when he called out to his Lord, what did he call out to his Lord and say? أني مسني الضر, harm has touched me. وأنت أرحم الراحمين, and you are the most merciful out of all of those that are merciful. You are the most merciful one. أرحم الراحمين. Out of all of the people that can consider themselves merciful, you're number one on the list. When you go through the life of Prophet Ayub and think about what actually happened to him, you'll realize how much of an understatement this is when he says that harm has touched me. That's all he said. He said, harm has touched me, and you're the most merciful out of all those that are merciful. So what actually happened to Prophet Ayub? Does anybody know the story? Yes. So Sayyidina Ayub alayhi salam was married, he had children, he had a house, he had a farm, he had money, and he was a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So his manners and his character and his gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala were obviously very high, and everything was going right for him. And shaitan came to speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he said, Ya Allah, he only is grateful to you because you have given him everything. He's got a wife, he's got kids, he's got a house, he's got farm, he's got money, and so he's thankful. So what? If he didn't have these things, he would curse you. Now, does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala know the truth of things? Does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala know how Sayyidina Ayub would behave, whether he had those things or not? Of course he does. But for whatever reason, maybe for us to learn something, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed all of these things to slowly disappear from the life of Prophet Ayub. So I just want you to imagine. We know, we've seen in the community, hopefully inshallah none of us ever experience it, we've seen in the community what happens when a parent loses a child. And we've talked about in this class before that when a parent loses a child, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked the angels, he said, what happened? Said, did you take the soul of the child? Yes. Did you take the fruit from the heart of this servant of mine? Taking the fruit from the heart of the parents is the language Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses to describe a parent losing their child. And they say yes. And he says, how did you find my servant after that? They said they worshipped you and they were patient. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, what can be their reward except paradise? Sayyidina Ayub didn't lose just one child. He lost all his children. So just imagine, and usually when we talk about this story, we talk about it very quickly and we don't give people a chance to really appreciate what's happened. Imagine as a parent, one of your children dies. And you wash the body of that child. And you wrap the body in the cotton. And you pray the janazah, the funeral prayer for that child. And you carry the body to the grave and dig the hole and bury the body and cover the body with dust and cry all your tears and make all your dua and walk away and emotionally try to recover from that over the course of months or years. And then it happens again. And then it happens again. 1 child, 2 children, 3 children, 4 children, 5 children. Imagine attending 5 janazas of your own children. What would you feel like on the 3rd one? What would you feel like on the 4th one? What would you feel like on the 5th one? This is what happened to Sayyidina Ayub. Not only that, his house burned down. His farm was destroyed. He became poor. homeless. Not only that, his health started to fail. He was he got the disease leprosy, where your skin starts to rot while it's still attached to you. And his skin started to rot and smell so bad that nobody in the town could stand to be around him. That's how bad he smelled. And there's a verse in the Bible, which of course we don't consider to be authentic. We neither believe it nor disbelieve it, where Prophet Job is sitting in the ashes of his own house, and he picks up part of the ash and he's scraping away the scabs on his skin with that. I don't know if that's true or not. The only one that used to look after him was his wife. And she used to come and bring him food and wash his body and try to take care of him. But people were very wary of her and her husband because leprosy is very easy to contract. It can spread very quickly. So people didn't want anything to do with him or his wife. And he's a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he buried all of his children, lost his house, lost his farm, lost his wealth, lost his health, and lost even the friendship and company of other people. Imagine you smell so terrible that nobody wants to be around you or talk to you, and people are afraid to contract the disease that you have. Think about what kind of life that is. And then his wife said to him, Ya Ayub, why don't you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make things easy for us? Why don't you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You're not even making dua, saying, Ya Allah, please relieve these problems. And he looked at her and he said, how many good years did we have? How many years did we enjoy good health and wealth and a house and children? Can't we put up with this for a little while? And he didn't want to even make dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help him. Just think about how next level that is. You and me, we get a flat tire, we're like, oh Ya Allah, please, why am I suffering so much? I got a fine, Ya Allah, please, give me justice. This guy lost everything. And now, is it haram to make dua for help? No, it's not. It's a worship actually to make dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But he didn't want to be ungrateful to Allah because he had so many good years. He thought, well, I shouldn't complain. I've had way more good years than bad years, so I'm just going to be patient. And he was patient, and he was patient. He wouldn't even ask for help. He didn't ask to be cured. He didn't ask for children. He didn't ask for his house. He didn't ask for money. He didn't ask for anything. He kept saying, Alhamdulillah. Until one day his wife came to feed him, and his wife, she had her hair in 2 plaits, like this. His wife came to give him some food, and she had her hair was covered. And he told her, uncover your hair. And she did, and he noticed she only had 1 plait and not the other one. And he said, what happened to your hair? Because he loves his wife. What happened to your hair? She said, she was embarrassed, and she said, I cut it and I sold it. It was the only thing I could have to sell to bring you food. I didn't have any other way to feed you or myself. So I took this plait and I sold it in the market. Someone bought it, and with that money I brought food. He was very angry. Now let's just pause for a second. Why was he angry? Yes. Yes, but why? Why would that matter? It's going to grow back. Yes. Because he loved his wife. And he felt that she was making a huge sacrifice. Good guess though. He felt that she was going too far to try to help the situation. So he became angry, not because she did something wrong, but because he felt sorry for her. He didn't want to see his wife with half her hair missing. So he said to her, I swear, if you do that again, I will hit you 100 times. Don't worry, it turns out all right in the end. But he said, I swear an oath to Allah that if you do that again, I'll hit you 100 times. And some time passed, and later she came back again with food, and her head was covered again. And he said, uncover your hair. And she uncovered her hair, and her second plait was missing. And he said, what did you do that for? I told you not to do that. She said, I had to feed you. I had to sell my hair. So she had sold all of her hair. That's the moment that he felt so sorry for his wife that he raised his hands and he made this dua. Himself, he could withstand the suffering patiently without asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for anything, in an effort to be as grateful as possible to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when he saw his wife making herself more ugly so she could help him, he didn't want to bear that. So he raised his hands and he made this dua. Now look, this is after years of suffering. And he finally decided to make dua, and he didn't say a big long essay. And he didn't say, Ya Allah, I've had enough and I can't take it anymore. And he said, Oh Allah, harm has touched me. And you are the most merciful. That's all he said. Look, he's just saying, harm has touched me. When his children died and he buried them and his health is gone and nobody can stand to be around him and his house and his wealth and his wife and everything else. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَيُّوبَ إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ, and Ayub, when he called out to his Lord, أَنِّي مَسَّنِيَ الضُّرُّ, that harm has touched me. وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ, and you are the most merciful. فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ, so we responded to him. So we answered him. فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ فَكَشَفْنَا مَا بِهِ مِنْ ضُرٍّ, and we removed all that was afflicting him from harm. وَآتَيْنَاهُ أَهْلَهُ وَمِثْلَهُمْ مَعْهُمْ, and we gave him his family and another lot just like them. So we gave him double the number of children that he had before. Some scholars say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resurrected his dead children, but that's a weaker opinion. The stronger opinion is that he had new kids, and twice as many as whatever amount had passed away before, to fill his life with more joy. وَمِثْلَهُمْ مَعْهُمْ رَحْمَةً مِنْ عِنْدِنَا, as a mercy from us. وَذِكْرَى لِلْعَابِدِينَ, and a reminder for the worshippers. The verse starts with فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ, so we responded to him. And I want you to remember this, just this one Arabic word I want you to remember for the purpose of tonight. فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ, so we responded to him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala healed him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it rain locusts. You know what a locust is, an insect, made of gold. And it was raining on him locusts made of gold. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had proven to shaitan that shaitan was wrong. That Ayub was not just grateful because he had all the good things, and he would become ungrateful if those things were taken away. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala proved to Iblis that Ayub is 10 times the servant that Iblis will ever be. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has shown to Iblis what a righteous servant looks like, what a righteous servant acts like. And Iblis had nothing more to say about Sayyidina Ayub. So it's raining locusts of gold on top of Ayub, and he is stuffing his pockets full of the golden locusts. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made a comment about this. He said, Ayub, haven't we given you enough? Haven't you got enough? And Ayub says, Oh Allah, who can get enough of your blessings? Yani, how can I have enough? And he kept stuffing his clothes. I would have loved to be there and see that scene. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that's just a snippet, just a taste of the story of Sayyidina Ayub. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues, وَإِسْمَاعِيلَ وَإِدْرِيسَ وَذَا الْكِفْلِ, 3 other people. كُلٌّ مِّنَ الصَّابِرِينَ, all of them were from the patient. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first talks about Sayyidina Ayub and his patience. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions 3 other names of people that are patient. وَإِسْمَاعِيل, Ishmael, وَإِدْرِيسَ وَذَا الْكِفْلِ كُلٌّ مِّنَ الصَّابِرِينَ. And next verse, 86, one of my favorite verses in the whole Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about Sayyidina Ayub and Ismail and Idris and Dhal Kifl. And he says, وَأَدْخَلْنَاهُمْ فِي رَحْمَتِنَا. And we entered them into our mercy. وَأَدْخَلْنَاهُمْ فِي رَحْمَتِنَا إِنَّهُمْ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. And we entered them into our mercy. Indeed, truly, definitely, they were from the righteous. Now, I want you to imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying that about you. Just close your eyes for a minute. I'll do it so you don't feel silly. Close your eyes for a minute. Imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about you to the angels, and He says, وَأَدْخَلْنَاهُمْ فِي رَحْمَتِنَا, and we entered them into our mercy. There's the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and I allowed Amir to enter into my mercy, and I allowed Suraya to enter into my mercy, I allowed Alif to enter into my mercy, I allowed Aisha to enter into my mercy. What more could you want? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, come in, enter through the door of my mercy. What more could you ask for? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes on to say, وَذَنُّونَ إِذْ ذَهَبَ مُغَاضِبًا فَظَنَّ أَنْ لَنْ نَقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ. Dhannun is referring to a prophet whose name was Yunus, or in English, Jonah. In the Bible, there's a story of Jonah and the whale. That probably rings a bell for you. Prophet Yunus was sent to give da'wah to a particular people. And he did da'wah, and he did da'wah, and he did da'wah, and he did da'wah, and they were not responding to the da'wah. They didn't want to become Muslims. So he kept working, and he felt like he kept failing. But those were the people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had sent him to. So, without seeking permission from Allah, without speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, there's no use giving da'wah to these people, I'm going to go travel somewhere else. And he got on a ship and he set sail in the ocean. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't like this, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him a particular mission to give da'wah to a particular people. It's just like if you're working and your manager says, I want you to clean this room. And you find the cleaning is too hard in that room, so you leave that room and you want to go clean another room. You think the manager is going to be happy? No. The boss says, install the furniture in this space. You go, no, it's too hard. I'm going to install it somewhere else. You can't do that. You got to do what the boss tells you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't like that he left. So look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put him through. He's on the ship and people know he's a righteous man. He's a prophet. There's a incredible storm overtakes the ship. The ship is being thrown around the ocean like a toy. And everyone on the ship is panicking, we're going to die. What do? They said, we have to make the ship lighter. Throw everything overboard. They throw everything overboard. Everybody's luggage and bags and pets and sheep and cows and everything. They push everything off the side of the boat. They're going to die. And still the storm is becoming more ferocious. So they said, listen, there's too many passengers here. We're all going to die. Unless we have to draw straws and people have to jump off the boat. There's no other way. Everyone's going to die. Men, women, children, everybody's going to drown. We have to make this boat lighter. And they all agreed. And they said, okay, they got some straws, and they all look like they're the same length, and everybody pulled one. Whoever gets the short straw has to jump off. Who gets the short straw? Sayyidina Yunus. He took the short straw, and they all said, no. We know you're a righteous man. Imagine having a sheikh on board a ship or something. Said, no. It's okay, we'll do it again. They collected all the straws. They did it again. He got the short straw again. They said, no. Third time lucky. They did it a third time. He got the short straw again. So it was clear to him and to them that this is the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he jumped overboard. And this was, by the way, the storm and the event happened at night. So imagine how much more terrifying it would be being in the middle of a storm like that. The boat's about to capsize, the sea spray is coming everywhere, and it's at night and you have to jump overboard. The terror that must have been on that ship, I'm sure we can't imagine. He jumps overboard. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands a whale to swallow him whole. And he's inside the belly of the whale. Imagine what it would feel like, what it would smell like inside the stomach of a whale. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the whale to go wherever whales go. I don't know. And he's alive. And he's breathing. And he's surrounded with the stomach fluid of the whale, acidic, eating his skin inside the belly of a whale. And he realized at that stage that what he did was wrong. So, وَذَنُّونِ إِذْ ذَهَبَ مُغَاضِبًا فَظَنَّ أَنْ لَن نَقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ, and mentioned the man of the fish when he went off in anger and he thought that we would not do anything to him. He thought that we did not have power over him. Not in a literal sense. فَنَادَى فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ, and so he called out in the depths of the darkness. أَنْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ سُبْحَانَكَ إِنِّي كُنْتُ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. That there is no God except you, O Allah. Exalted are you. Truly, I have been of the unjust. I have been of the wrongdoers. What I did was wrong. La ilaha illa ant. There is no God but you. Subhanaka. Glory be to you. Inni kuntu min al-dhalimin. I have done the wrong thing. Now, the scholars of tafsir, they pick on this word, fanada fi dhulumat, and he called out in the depths of darkness. Not in the darkness, in the depths of darkness. And they tried to figure out what is this depths of the darkness. Some said there's 3 levels, some said there's 4. The first level of darkness is that it was nighttime. The second level of darkness is that he was underneath the depths of the ocean, so there was even less light coming through. Even if there was some starlight or moonlight at the top, when you go deep enough in the ocean, there's no light whatsoever. Second level of darkness. Third level of darkness is the darkness inside the belly of the whale. And some say the fourth level of darkness that he was immersed in was that he knew for a fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was angry with him. And out of the 4, the last one is the most severe. Out of the 4 levels of darkness, knowing for a fact that Allah is angry with you is worse than all of the other 3. So he called out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And who would hear this dua? Obviously Allah hears everything, but who else would hear this dua? The angels. Now the angels, they've been around a long time. They've heard people making dua on ships and on boats and in buildings and in houses and underground and on land and on boats. But they never heard anybody making dua before in the bottom of the ocean. So they went to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they said, Ya Allah, we have heard someone making dua to you in a place that we never heard anyone making dua to you before. We heard someone making dua to you from the bottom of the ocean. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ. Same exact word as Ayub. فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ. So we responded to him, to his dua. وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْغَمِّ. And we saved him from distress. وَكَذَلِكَ نُنْجِي الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And this is how we save all believers. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked to us about Sayyidina Ayub, and that he is an example for all the believers. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks to us about Sayyidina Yunus, and he says, just the same way we saved him, this is how we can save all the believers. Now, Sayyidina Yunus admitted his mistake. Right? He surrendered to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, Ya Allah, save me. I know I have done the wrong thing. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, so we responded to him, and this is how we can save all the believers. So if and when you make a mistake, you need to acknowledge your mistake with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there is a dua that Prophet Muhammad taught us. It's called Sayyid al-Istighfar, which he told us is the best way to ask for forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Does anyone know it? Does anyone know it? No, but not a bad guess. Allahumma anta rabbi, la ilaha illa ant. Oh Allah, you are my Lord, there is no God but you. Khalaqtani wa ana abduk. You created me and I am your servant. وَأَنَا عَلَىٰ عَهْدِكَ وَوَعْدِكَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُ. And I am honoring the agreement with you as best I can. أَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا صَنَعْتُ. I seek protection in you from the evil that I have created. أَبُوءُ لَكَ بِنِعْمَتِكَ عَلَيَّ. I admit and acknowledge your blessings upon me. وَأَبُوءُ بِذَنْبِي. And I acknowledge my mistake. فَاغْفِرْ لِي. So forgive me. فَإِنَّهُ لَا يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ. There is no one to forgive my sin except you. This dua, which I'll put in WhatsApp for you, this is called Sayyid al-Istighfar. The sir or the general or the colonel of asking for forgiveness. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said this is the best way to ask for forgiveness. And look, it's the key ingredient from the same dua of Sayyidina Yunus, which is acknowledging your mistake. Allahumma anta rabbi la ilaha illa ant. Khalaqtani wa ana abduka. You created me and I'm your servant. And I'm doing the best I can. I acknowledge your many blessings upon me and I acknowledge my mistake. I know what I did was wrong. Faghfir li. So forgive me. There's no one to forgive my sin except you. I'll put it in WhatsApp for you, inshallah. وَزَكَرِيَّا إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ. And Zakaria, when he called out to his Lord, رَبِّي لَا تَذَرْنِي فَرْدًا. Oh Allah, don't leave me alone, meaning with no children. Don't leave me alone in the world with no lineage, with no offspring. وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الْوَارِثِينَ. And you are the best of inheritors. I want someone to continue my bloodline. I want children. I want to have descendants. Don't leave me as a dead end in the world. I die and that's it. Let me have children and you're the best to give me people to inherit. فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ. Same again. This is the third time we've heard it. فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ. So we responded to him. وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ يَحْيَى. And we gave to him his son Yahya, who would become John, or what's called in Christian faith, John the Baptist. So Yahya was the son of Zakaria. وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ يَحْيَى وَأَصْلَحْنَا لَهُ زَوْجَهُ. And we mended or amended for him his wife. So there was some issue with his wife, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fixed. إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا يُسَارِعُونَ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ. They used to race towards good deeds and rewards. Which means they had a lot of energy and enthusiasm in doing the good deeds. وَيَدْعُونَنَا رَغَبًا وَرَهَبًا. And they used to make dua to us in hope for our reward, and in fear of our punishment. They used to ask us to give them the reward, and they used to ask us to save them from the punishment. وَكَانُوا لَنَا خَاشِعِينَ. And they were humbly submissive to us. وَالَّتِي أَحْصَنَتْ فَرْجَهَا. And the one who guarded her chastity. This is talking about who guarded her chastity. Maryam. وَالَّتِي أَحْصَنَتْ فَرْجَهَا فَنَفَخْنَا فِيهَا مِنْ رُوحِنَا. And the one who guarded her chastity, so we breathed into her from our soul, or from the soul of the angel Jibreel. And we made her and her son a sign for the worlds. Who is her son? Isa alayhi salam. Now this is another one of my favorite verses in this little series of verses. Inna hadhihi ummatukum. This is your people. This is your nation. These people that we've just been talking about, and there was more before the verse that I started at. Inna hadhihi ummatukum. This is your nation. This is your people. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to you and me directly. Inna hadhihi ummatukum ummatan wahidatan wa ana rabbukum fa'budun. This is your nation. One nation. Not Pauline Hanson's one nation. This is your nation. One nation. Wa ana rabbukum. And I am your Lord. Fa'budun. So worship me. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. Truthful is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most great. These are 4 scenarios that happened to people that came before us, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just reminding us of their story with one verse each. Each of them got one verse to remind you of that whole story, that whole lifetime of suffering for Sayyidina Ayub, that whole situation with Sayyidina Yunus, Sayyidina Zakaria asking for offspring and not wanting his bloodline to stop, and Maryam, who preserved her chastity, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made her and her son a sign for all of the worlds until the day of judgment, and even beyond. Everyone will know who Maryam and Isa are. So for each one of them, they called to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied to all of them, and He says, فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُمْ. So we responded to them. Don't ever think that your situation is too difficult for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The one that lost all his family and wealth and health, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him back that and double. The one who was inside the belly of a whale. When have you ever been inside the belly of a whale? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved him. By the way, the end of his story is, once he admitted his mistake, he kept repeating these words, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min adh-dhalimin, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted his apology. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the whale to puke him back out. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him to another people. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made his da'wah effective there, so some of them believed in him and followed the message of Islam. So the source of his frustration was removed as well. So whatever it is that's happening in your life, whatever it is, it's not too much for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to change it. Whatever it is. Zakaria couldn't have children. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fixed it. Yunus was inside a whale. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fixed it. Ayub lost everything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fixed it. And Maryam preserved herself, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave her the miracle of having a child without any male being involved in the process. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do anything. What did all of these people have in common? They raised their hands and they asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely. They raised their hands and they asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely. Some of them were patient. Some of them were grateful. Some of them acknowledged their mistake. Khashi'een, Sabirin, Sadiqeen, Salihin, they all had good qualities. But they all have in common that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they raised their hands and asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded to them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Id'uni astajib lakum. Ask of me, I will respond to you. The same words that it says here, fastajabna lahum, he says, Id'uni astajib lakum. I will respond to you. Why do we sometimes, very, very briefly, and then we'll pray Aisha, why do we sometimes make dua and we feel like nothing happens? Number one, don't ever let shaitan trick you into believing that nothing happens. This is a direct contradiction with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's promise where He said, I absolutely will respond to you. So something happens. If I raise my hands right now and I make dua, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me a brand new Ferrari. I don't want a used Ferrari, I want a new Ferrari, okay? I guarantee you if I walk downstairs there's no Ferrari for me, okay? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised He would respond. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can respond in a few different ways. Number one, He can give you what you ask for right now. And even these people, they didn't get what they want the minute they asked for it, by the way. They all asked and asked and asked, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded to them. But you can get it right now. That's option A. You can get it later. I might get that Ferrari in 10 years. I'm making dua now for a Ferrari. Maybe 10 years from now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer my dua and give me the Ferrari. So, could happen now. Could happen later, that's two. Number three, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could make some disaster that was coming to you, He could make it not come. For example, next week maybe I'm supposed to have a motorcycle accident and be paralyzed for life. Right now I'm sitting down making dua asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a Ferrari. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might say, you know what? No Ferrari but no wheelchair. Now, if I knew that, if I had access to that information that only Allah knows, what do you think I would choose? No wheelchair. Much rather no wheelchair. Keep the Ferrari. I don't want to be in a wheelchair. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me something better than what I asked for. Another option is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will compensate you with hasanat on the Day of Judgment. Now, let's say you're asking for a job or a car or a house or a child or whatever. I guarantee you, whatever it is that you're asking for, I guarantee you, when you are standing on the Day of Judgment, you will be so happy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't give you the job, the car, the house, the child, whatever, but instead He's given you hasanat. You'll be like, oh Allah, thank you so much. I would much rather hasanat than any of that other stuff. Why? Because you've left the dunya behind. Because whatever it is that you asked for in the dunya, you would have left it. But the hasanat you get to keep forever. So you will be happy and grateful that Allah has You're not going to arrive on the Day of Judgment and say, oh look, these hasanat are nice, but I really, really wanted that Ferrari. I guarantee you won't say that. Once you die, you won't care at all about your life in the dunya. Why would you? You're not coming back here. The hasanat are much better for you. So that's a quick 6 verses. We talked about 6 verses. There's another 6,000 in here. That the more you learn, the more you will love this book. And the more you learn, the more you will love the author of this book, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.